I never thought one small voice note could change the way I saw my best friend. For years, Sarah and I had been inseparable. We met on the first day of college, when we both reached for the same book in the library. From that moment on, we laughed together, shared secrets, and supported each other through everything. She was the person I called late at night, when I couldn't sleep, the one who knew every little detail about my life. I trusted her completely. Life was busy but normal. We both had jobs now, different schedules, but we still found time for coffee on weekends and long phone calls when one of us had a bad day. I always felt safe with her, like no matter what happened, she had my back. If anyone had asked me a week ago, I would have said she was the one person who would never hurt me. That's why, when my phone buzzed with a voice note from Sarah late on a Wednesday night, I didn't think much of it. She sometimes sent short recordings if she was driving or too tired to type. I was curled up on my couch, scrolling through messages, when a notification popped up. Without thinking, I tapped play. At first, I thought she was talking to me. Her voice was clear, a little sharp, and then I realized she was saying my name in a way that didn't sound kind at all. My stomach tightened. The more I listened, the more I understood she hadn't meant to send this to me. She was telling someone else things about me, things that were not true, and some that cut deeply. For a moment, I just sat there frozen, phone in hand, my heart beating fast. I had no idea that one accidental message would open a door I never wanted to see through. The voice note was still playing when I realized I was holding my breath. Sarah's voice came through my phone speaker, as if she were sitting right next to me, but the tone was different. It wasn't warm or joking like our normal chats. It was colder, sharper, and she was speaking fast, like someone who couldn't wait to get something off her chest. I heard my own name once, then again, followed by words I had never expected from her. At first, I thought maybe she was talking about a different person with the same name, but then she mentioned things only I had told her. My chest felt tight. I paused the message and stared at the screen. The little play bar still had time left. My thumb hovered over it. Part of me wanted to delete it and pretend I had never heard it. Another part needed to know everything. With shaking hands, I pressed play again. More words spilled out, small criticisms, private details, even a story I had trusted her with and asked her never to repeat. Each sentence felt like a tiny sting. My cheeks were hot, my heart thumping in my ears. When the voice note ended, the apartment around me felt suddenly silent. I could hear the hum of the fridge and the faint sound of cars outside, but it was like the air had been sucked out of the room. I played the message a third time just to be sure I hadn't misunderstood. The words didn't change. It was my best friend's voice. She had sent it to me by mistake. I sat there gripping my phone, scrolling up the chat. Nothing else looked strange, just the usual memes and quick updates. The voice note sat there like a dark stone between all the cheerful messages. My screen lit up again, another message from Sarah, this time a simple text. "Oops, wrong person, ignore that," with a nervous emoji. My stomach dropped further. She knew. She realized. I didn't reply. My fingers were stiff. Questions crowded my head. Who had she meant to send it to? Why was she saying those things? Was our friendship real at all? I set the phone face down on the table and stared at the wall. A moment earlier, I had been scrolling and relaxing. Now everything felt different. One small accidental message had cracked something I thought was unbreakable. I didn't sleep much that night. The voice note kept echoing in my head like a song I couldn't turn off. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's face, the face of the girl who had hugged me when my dog died, who had sat with me in the hospital waiting room, who had celebrated my last birthday with a surprise party. And then I heard her voice from the recording again, colder and sharper, cutting into me with every word. By morning, my phone was still lying face down on the table. The message from Sarah sat unopened at the top of the screen. I knew it was there. "Oops, wrong person, ignore that." But I couldn't bring myself to open it. It felt like if I did, the whole thing would become real, like a balloon popping. Part of me hoped she would send another message explaining everything, telling me it was a joke or a misunderstanding. But no more messages came. I finally picked up my phone and scrolled through our chat again, reading old messages. That we were planning movie nights. sending each other silly photos, sharing job worries and family news. It looked like the friendship I thought we had. But now, under that bright surface, the voice note sat like a dark secret, changing the way I read every word. When she said, "I'm busy today last week," did she really mean it? When she said, "You're my best friend," was it true? I opened the voice note one more time and listened carefully. The words were clearer now because I wasn't as shocked. She had been talking to someone else, another friend from work, maybe, or her cousin. She had called me clingy. She had said I always make everything about me. She had mentioned a private story I had once told her in tears, a story I had never shared with anyone else. And she had laughed. It was a short, hard laugh that didn't sound like the girl I thought I knew. I paused the recording and set the phone down. My hands were cold. It wasn't just the words. It was a feeling behind them. It sounded like she had been carrying these thoughts for a long time. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was how she really felt. The realization landed slowly, like a heavy stone sinking in water. My best friend had been saying one thing to my face and another behind my back. All those moments when I felt safe with her were now mixed with doubt. I started replaying old memories. Her quick glances at her phone when I talked, the time she canceled plans at the last minute, the small jokes that sometimes felt a bit sharp. Were those hints I had ignored? Had I been blind because I wanted so badly to believe in our friendship? Tears stung my eyes but didn't fall. I wasn't even sure if I was angry or just sad. Mostly I felt hollow. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my phone, staring at the chat window. The green play button of the voice note looked harmless, but I knew it had already changed everything. The whole day at work felt like moving through fog. I typed emails, answered calls, and smiled at people, but inside my head the voice note kept playing. I could almost hear Sarah's laugh and those words about me. It was like a song stuck on repeat, but the song hurt. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. I didn't know if I wanted her to message me or not. On my lunch break, I sat alone in the park with a sandwich I didn't touch. Questions swirled around and around. Should I confront her? Should I act like nothing happened? Was I overreacting? Maybe she had been stressed. Maybe she had just vented to someone. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it sounded. But then I thought about the private story she shared. That wasn't just venting. That was betrayal. My heart kept swinging like a pendulum. One moment I want to call her right then and demand an explanation. The next moment I imagine her crying, saying it was a mistake, and I felt guilty for even being angry. I remembered all the times she had stood by me. Could someone be a good friend and still say things like that? Or had I been blind the whole time? Back at my desk, I opened our old photos on my phone. There we were at the beach, at concerts, holding each other's hands at graduations. We looked so happy. I tried to picture her face. If I told her I'd heard the message, would she be sorry or defensive? Would she deny it? The thought of losing her felt like tearing out a part of myself. But the thought of staying friends without trust felt like a lie. That evening, sitting on my couch again, I pressed the voice note one last time and listened with my eyes closed. My stomach tightened, but I forced myself to hear it all. When it ended, I knew I couldn't keep pretending. Something had changed, and ignoring it wouldn't make it go away. But I still didn't know what to say to her or how to say it. My fingers hovered over the keyboard of my phone, then pulled back. I put the phone down and wrapped my arms around my knees. I had never felt so torn, between anger and love, between friendship and self-respect, between wanting to forget and needing the truth. The next evening, after almost 24 hours of silence, I finally picked up my phone and typed a short message. "We need to talk. Can you meet me tonight?" My hands trembled as I pressed send. Within a minute, Sarah replied, "Sure. Same cafe." My stomach flipped. The cafe had always been our safe place, where we shared secrets over tea. Now I was going there to question everything. When I arrived, she was already sitting at our usual table by the window, a mug in front of her. She looked up and smiled weakly. "Hey," she said. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were nervous. I slid into the seat opposite her, and for a moment neither of us spoke. The air felt heavy between us, filled with things unsaid. I took a deep breath. Sarah, I got your voice note, I said quietly. The one you sent last night. Her eyes widened and then dropped to her mug. I know, she whispered. I realized as soon as I sent it. I waited, but she didn't go on. You were talking about me? I said. My voice shook. You repeated things I told you in private. You laughed about me. Sarah covered her face with her hands. I'm so sorry, she said. I was angry and venting to my cousin. I didn't mean half of it. I just blurted things out. She looked up, eyes shiny with tears. I didn't want you to hear it. You weren't supposed to. That doesn't make it better, I said. My chest felt tight. You still said it. You still thought it. She reached across the table. But I pulled my hands back. I know, she said. I messed up. I've been feeling frustrated about some things, but I should have talked to you, not behind your back. Please, can we fix this? For a long time, I stared at her. I could see the girl I'd laughed with for years, but also the person who had hurt me. The cafe noises faded. It was just us, 2 mugs and a heavy silence. I wanted to shout, to cry, to run, but instead I sat still. I don't know, I said finally. I need time. Sarah nodded slowly. She didn't try to argue. Take all the time you need, she whispered. I stood up, leaving my tea untouched, and walked out into the cool night air. My heart pounded, but also felt strangely lighter. At least now everything was on the table. 2 days passed before I saw Sarah again. I had needed space, and she had respected it. On the 3rd evening, she sent me a long message asking if she could explain. After reading it twice, I agreed to meet at the small park near my apartment. It was quiet there, and we could sit on a bench without strangers listening in. When I arrived, Sarah was already waiting. She looked tired, as if she hadn't slept. For a moment we just stood there, then she spoke. I owe you the truth, she said softly. Can we sit? We sat on the bench under a tree. She twisted her hands in her lap. I've been under a lot of pressure at work, she began. New deadlines, a boss who yells at everyone. And at home my parents are fighting again. I've been bottling everything up. When my cousin messaged me the other night, I just exploded. I said things I didn't even realize I felt. I stayed quiet. She took a breath and went on. Some of what I said wasn't true at all. Some of it was me exaggerating to make myself feel better. And some of it, she looked at me then, some of it was real frustration I never told you about. Times when I felt you leaned on me too much or didn't listen to me. Instead of talking to you, I vented. That's on me. It wasn't fair. I broke your trust. Her voice shook, but she didn't look away. I'm not proud of it. You're my best friend. You've been there for me more than anyone. And still I chose the easy way, gossiping instead of being honest. I'm sorry. The park was quiet except for a few birds. I stared at the ground, feeling a mixture of anger, sadness, and a tiny flicker of relief. At least now I knew it hadn't all been fake. At least she was admitting it. I wish you had just told me, I said finally, even if it hurt. At least then I could have done something. Now I don't know what to believe. I know, she whispered. I understand if you can't forgive me. But I wanted you to hear everything from me, not from anyone else. We sat in silence. The truth was heavy between us, but it was also clearer now. For the first time since the voice note, I felt like I was holding a full picture instead of shadows. The wind moved gently through the leaves above us as I sat on the bench thinking about everything Sarah had just said. Part of me wanted to stand up and walk away. Another part wanted to hug her. For years she had been the person I trusted the most. That didn't disappear in one day. But the hurt didn't disappear either. I don't know if I can go back to how things were, I said quietly. Hearing that voice note, it broke something. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I understand, she said. I hate myself for it. I don't expect you to forgive me right now. I just want to tell you the truth and say I'm sorry. I stared at the little path in front of us where children sometimes rode their bikes. My chest felt heavy, but my head felt strangely clear. I don't want to lose you, I said slowly. But I can't pretend nothing happened. If we keep being friends, we have to change how we talk to each other. No more hiding, no more gossip. I want that too, she whispered. I'll do whatever it takes. I nodded. Then I need time. I'm not cutting you off. I just need to build my trust back slowly. That means fewer calls for a while. And if something is wrong, we say it directly to each other. She wiped her cheeks and gave a small, shaky smile. That's fair. Thank you for even giving me a chance. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The park felt calm. The late afternoon sun soft on our faces. The tension between us hadn't vanished, but it wasn't sharp anymore. It was more like a bruise, painful but healing. I stood up first. I'm going to go home now, I said. I need some quiet. Sarah stood too. Take all the time you need, she said. I'll be here when you're ready. We didn't hug, but we didn't turn our backs either. We walked out of the park together, but in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. For the first time since the voice note, I felt a small sense of control. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could decide what came next. A week later, I sat alone in my apartment with a cup of tea, thinking about everything that had happened. The voice note still sat on my phone, but I hadn't listened to it again. I didn't need to. The words were already carved into my memory, and so was the moment after, when Sarah had owned up to them. Life felt quieter now. My phone buzzed less. Our conversations were shorter, and yet I felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't pretending everything was fine. I wasn't pushing my own feelings aside to keep the peace. I was taking care of myself. Sometimes I opened our old photos and smiled at the good memories. They were still real. Her laugh in those pictures was genuine, and so was mine. But I also knew that trust, once cracked, takes time to mend. I couldn't force it. I could only decide what I wanted to hold on to and what I needed to let go of. I thought about what I had learned. Friendships are not built on perfection. They are built on honesty. It's easy to share jokes and secrets when everything is light. It's harder to speak up when something hurts. But that's when it matters most. I wish Sarah had told me earlier, but I also realized I had a choice now, to demand honesty from people and to give it back. I don't know exactly what will happen with Sarah and me. Maybe our friendship will heal slowly. Maybe it will fade. But I do know this. I will never ignore my own instincts again. And I will never forget the lesson one accidental voice note taught me, that even the closest relationships need truth, respect, and boundaries to survive. As the sun set outside my window, I took a deep breath. It still hurt, but it was also a new beginning. For me, for my boundaries, and maybe someday for our friendship too.